Hey, well, welcome back for the third part of the critique for your assignments that were given out on week 8. And we might as well jump right into it. All right. Wow, a really interesting monochrome black and white image with some beautiful tonalities, a real sense of depth as the light shows up going into the haze in the distance, showing up distance and depth to this. This is a really very interesting shot. The composition's nice. It's very quiet. It's not a dramatic shot a la, say, Adams, but it's a nice quiet shot, and it shows a good use of light. I'm not sure there is much I would do to this except, well, you know me. I mean, what can I do? I can't just let everything go as if nothing happened. Let me zoom in on this and show you why I think there might be one thing we can do to play with it. Right here in the very middle of the shot is a little patch of ground because of the low res that I asked for in the submitted files. I can't tell if there's a residence here. There seems to be a road or a driveway or something. But to me it feels like this ought to be a little farm or a farmland of some kind. And because of that, in this soft light, I'd like to see this become our real center of focus. And the way I would do that is to bring it out a bit and make it stand out a little more. So I'm going to make a duplicate layer. I'm going to just use the Control-J shortcut to get through these faster. And now down on the bottom layer, I'm going to use curves. Now you could do this exact same thing with an adjustment layer. So, and it would work exactly the same. But because I don't expect to have to go back to it later, then I don't care. Now this is the area here that I want to lighten. If I hold down the Alt key and click, you can notice a little circle appearing on the line in the curves line. That's where that tone is. So I want to lighten that. I'm going to bring it up. But what I don't want to do, you can see I'm also lightening all of these tones. What I don't want to do is that. I want to keep that sense of contrast that's typical with the rest of the shot. Okay. And now I'm going to say, okay. I'm going to go back to my top layer, where it's a little duller. You know, in fact, what I'm going to do, before I do any work here, I'm going to go down and just look at this layer complete with the greater contrast. It's a different view of it. I can see blending the whole thing together, but for right now, I just want to show you this one area. So I'm going to make that a layer mask. It's a white mask, so I need a black brush. I'm going to zoom in again so I can work with this with a little more specificity. Make this a bit, it's a normal brush, I'll make it a bit smaller, a lot softer. And now we got that central piece brought out a little more. At this point, I might decide to go around to some things like these trees. Bring those out a little. I'm still working on my layer mask. There might be other areas I would want to pick out. But now, at least in this whole expanse, I do have something that I can sort of focus on. But other than that, I really like what you've done. I think this is a very interesting shot. It's flat, but it seems to me that that's the purpose of it. That's what it's trying to say. So on we'll go. Oh, another monochrome, and this one made to look as if it were an old-timey, maybe a tintype kinds of things. Later on in the class, or if we get around to it, if you'd like, I can give you a set of instructions on how to make a picture really look like it's an old tintype, along with the damage and deterioration to the surface, so that it looks like it really is an old weathered print. But this does that really pretty well. The reverse vignette, where it kind of fades out on the edges, is cool. My only issue here is, I think up in this area, it fades out a little too quickly. And because of the way the clouds in the sky go, here the vignette comes in at about these angles, but here it looks like it's coming in further. So I might go over to the burn tool. 42%, that might be too much, but we'll see. No, maybe not. Here's why you don't use the burn tool. Can you see what's happened with this? The color in this area has changed. The burn and dodge tool used in color in Photoshop is horrible in that its proclivity to change color. And that's why I almost never use it. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to make a duplicate layer. I'm going to take this top layer, multiply it, cut it back, and now I'm going to make that into a reversed mask, and with a white brush, see if I have some hope of getting this. Well, you have done something really interesting here that at the moment is, because I don't know how you got exactly to this tone. I like the tone, don't get me wrong. There are a lot of ways you can tone things, but whatever is happening here, your combination of color tools to create this tone has created a mix of color that is wanting to separate with tonalities. And that's not necessarily a good thing, because even in this method, which almost never affects color, it is in fact affecting the color here. So I want that to go away. And we'll get rid of that. And now I'm going to try one last way, and then what I would have to do is do this while it's truly neutral, and then go back and tone it, and that would work. But one other way to do this, and the proper way to do burning and dodging, by the way, is this. As you go, what I want is a new layer. Just plain new layer. Layer. Come on. Layer. And now I want this to be gray. And I want my mode to be overlay. And that tells me fill with overlay neutral color, 50%. That's what I actually want. And we'll say OK. Now, because this is an overlay layer, and that truly is a neutral gray, nothing happened. Overlay will take from the top layer any tone that is darker than neutral gray and make it darker on the bottom, on the actual photograph. And any tone that is lighter than neutral gray and make it lighter. So if I wish to make this work, I can come over now. I'm going to pick a black brush. And I'm going to make it very soft, because I want very little effort on it. Nope, I'm picking up that yellow underlying color in it again. Darn. But you can see that here, where I've darkened it, it is darker here. If I had used a lighter brush, let's say white, and I clicked here, you can see here it's a little lighter, and here it's lightening here, as if I were dodging it. What's interesting, this isn't changing the color on a dodge, it's only on the burn. Fascinating. What I would suggest you do is take this, because this is a nice shot. This would make a nice wall hanging shot. Take it back to where it's just neutral gray. And then bring the sky in here just a little bit so these clouds separate some. And then add your toning. And that's the way I think I would deal with this. Okay, it's going. Wow, here's a definitely some sun rays. The pure is in some ways almost unfortunately right at the horizon. And what that's doing, it almost makes it look like the sun rays are hitting the pier and it should be lit up. But it's not, because the rays are out on the edge of the horizon. What I would probably do, though, is increase a little of the contrast here so that it started to match that a little better. So let me make a duplicate layer. Where do our screen layer? Yeah, we'll do this. Now we'll make this a reversed mask. Hold down the Alt key. Come here with a white brush. Zoom in a little so we can control what we're doing a little better. And go on to some of these waves. And just brighten them up a little. Use a nice, really soft brush. Now, because I only have an opacity of under 20%, each pass isn't doing much. And that lets me come in and maybe even just pick out some areas so that I really get a sense of the rockiness of this surf. I can very selectively do this. Let's back out and see what's happened. So we brighten that up a little bit so that it better balances this really bright area in the sky. So this is very cool. I like what you've done here. I'm going to flatten this, and I'm going to do something that this shot doesn't actually need, but it gives me a chance to show you how to do something. Most of you are familiar with doing the high pass filter for sharpening. But you can use it for more than that. If you wanted to really bring out this cloud stuff up in here, let's go make a duplicate layer. And now we're going to treat this just as if we were going to do a high pass filter on it. So we would come to Image, Adjustments, Desaturation. And now we would go to Filter, Other, High Pass. It's a very strange thing. Now, on a low-res shot, this is going to be a lot cruder than it would be on your high-res, smoother shot. If we were actually going to just do this to sharpen, I probably would bring it to about there. And that gives me the kind of contrast I need to then pick this up. But I want the clouds to really, really do something interesting. So I'm going to take it to about there. And I'm especially looking at this low-res stuff up in here. Now, I'll do what you would normally do to sharpen it again. I'm going to come back here to my overlay. But this is vast overkill down in here. But I don't care. I didn't want it up in there. I only want it there. So, again, I'm going to do a reverse layer mask. Now we're looking at the original. Well, after we did some wave action. And now I'm going to go on this with my white brush. And I'm going to set it up because I want this to really show up. And I'm going to bring out those clouds with this. And we can duplicate that to make it come out even more. And that's beginning to get a little wonky, so I'm going to cut it back about halfway. But that lets us bring out some of that cloud detail that might otherwise be lost. So that's our view there. So here's where we started, and there's where we ended up. Very subtle, very soft touches, but it can make some interesting differences in how this feels. Okay, looks like we have one more. Whoa! Well, holy Moses. This is really, really nice. I love the way that light is sitting. I assume this is USD, but this is really a very nice job on that. Wow. I might want to take a little of this highlight down because it's here. Obviously your focal point is this beautiful light catch on the horizon on that hillside. So what I might do, and the cool thing about Photoshop is we can always back off of this if we don't like it, is I'm going to come over here and pick up some of this grayer cloud stuff. I still want it pretty light. Put that in my brush. Tell it I want to darken. Set my opacity way down. And just take some of that brilliance off. And by applying it more on the bottom side of this, I can still give a little roundness to that cloud by leaving the top. Not as bright as it was to begin with, but close. Wow, this is really something. Now, what I don't know is, would it be helped to bring in a little more of the detail in that hillside? And I don't know. I really do not want to take away from the college buildings. Those are beautiful. But I can certainly find out if it would work. Let me make another duplicate layer. I'll come here to a screen layer. I'm going to make this a reversed mask. Use my white brush, again set very low, because I did kind of like what I was seeing, but I thought it was way too much. So let's see what we can do here. Maybe just bring up some of these highlights just by ever so slightly. Now this might be a little much, so I'm going to switch back to my black brush. Take it back down just a little hit at a time. Okay. Wow, this is really a nice shot. So that makes it a really nice one for us to end on for this critique. So we're at the end of the critique for the assignment for week 8 that was given out before the spring break. We're now up into week 10. I assume you're working on all of that. And you guys have been doing some really good work. I can't tell you how sad I am that we're not able to be going out on field trips. I think you guys would do some gorgeous stuff. But this is the hand we got dealt, so we'll try to do the best we can. And someone suggested maybe this summer that we do a Photo 245 landscape party, maybe in Yosemite or something. I think that'd be fun. So we'll keep talking about that. Meantime, that's all she wrote for now. See you next time.